Hello and happy Thursday. Yay. So I don't know. Um, I wasn't feeling too well yesterday. I don't know if it's the weather, my allergies, or whatever. So I had to cancel last night's stream, but I knew I'd be here this morning to hang out and just chat. I see that Skitty Nana was in here earlier. I don't know if you're still there, if you're lurking, or if you just dropped a comment and then took off. There you are. You were lurking. You were hiding in the shadows. It looks like so far you're my only guest. So hi, how you doing? I'm hanging out in my fish room, trying to get stuff done, get stuff ready for my expo in a couple of weeks. You did came back. But I'm getting ready for my expo. So yesterday I did a thing. I took an aquarium, one of my bookshelves that's right here behind my laptop, and I emptied it out, took everything out of it, put it in a little container, cleaned the glass off, put brand new water in it, siphoned it out, filled it up again until I got it nice and clean. And then I decided I was going to use it as my holding tank for my mosses. And oh my goodness, I took what I thought was a whole tank full of Sawasser tang out of a 10-gallon, and I put it in there, and it's filling up half of the tank. It's a 6-gallon. And then back here behind me, I took out almost all of the tank of anchor moss, and it filled up the other half. But it's kind of cool because I do this so that way I can make sure most of the snails come off if there's any shrimp or anything like that. And just to get it out of my tank so I'm not messing with my tanks and my shrimp and everything else the day before the expo when I'm bagging everything. Yeah, so I don't want to make a mess. But anyways, it's kind of cool. I mean, there's nothing in it. I have no filter or nothing, but it's just moss. And it looks kind of cool. Here, look. I'll show you. Let me move my stuff around. Ah. Dun, dun, dun. So this is what I did, and yes, I'm a dork, and I use that as a divider just to keep them all separated. But look at all of that anchor moss. That's ridiculous. Here, let me put this. That's all Sawasser tang. And I took the Sawasser tang out of this tank up here. It was full, but obviously it's still full, and it's not fluffed up. I need to fluff it up. I like to fluff up my Sawasser tang. I'm a fluffer. Let's see if I can do this right without making a mess. Obviously not. I thought I had things situated right, but no. What I wanted to talk about was this tank here in reference to, is it cycled or not? Now, that's a big debate amongst all of the fish keepers and shrimp keepers about how long you're supposed to cycle a tank. So if you were with me last week, you saw when I added the filter. And then the next day, I added the little thin layer of substrate. And then I added some of this moss that I really like. I'm trying to propagate and grow out. I used a filter that came from an already cycled tank, and then I had a used filter sitting in the tank for the whole 2 weeks of trying to seed the aquarium with some bacteria, basically. Yes, tangerine tigers can be kept with neos. They won't crossbreed or anything like that. And actually, the tangerine tigers should be able to acclimate to the neo parameters, but the neos should be able to acclimate to the tangerine tigers. So if you can find that happy medium to where there's a little bit of KH in it for the neos, but not too much for the tigers, then you'll be just fine. Yes, I love this moss in this tank. I don't know what it is. I got it from Jadron Aquatics way back in the day. I had a couple of fronds, and I really liked the way it looked. So I've always kept it, and I've managed to keep a couple of fronds alive in various tanks. And, I had a lot of it, and then I had very little of it, and now I got a lot of it again. So I'm really trying to work with it. I don't know what it is, but I like it. It's pretty. It grows in so many different ways. But so, okay. Yeah, you should be fine. So I got this my aquarium here, and I'm trying to set it up, trying to find out if it's cycles. And so I know I'm a weirdo, and I know I'll probably do things all wrong. So don't do what I do unless it works for you. If it works for you, then great. I knew I was onto something, but if it doesn't work for you, you did it at your own risk, okay? I take no responsibility. But anyways, my point is that part of the reason why I do things the way I do is because of what I see, what I observe in the process. And so one of the key indicators I use to see if my tank's ready, I believe it is. But that's because I'm the one. I used the sponges in it were already from a cycle tank. They were just squeezed out and then put back in. And like I said, I seeded it with a filter. This moss comes from a tank that had already been cycled. So I did every little cheat that I could to get it ready. But how do I know for sure without putting something in my aquarium whether it's ready? So the question is do I have bacterial growth? Is there a biofilm? And that's the one cool thing I've noticed about the glass bottom aquariums. How do I know when I have bacteria growth in my tank? Because you can't really see it in the water column. Well, I have a little trick, and I don't know if you can see it on the front portion of the tank right there. There's an indicator that I look for when I start so that way I can see with my eyes if I have bacteria. No, there's no shrimp in there. No shrimp in there at all yet. I haven't done it yet. Keyword yet. But that's why I wanted to talk with everybody to show you what I look for before I even put my shrimp, even though I feel pretty confident that it's ready because of this way that I did it. Here's something else that I use to give me an indicator. Now I'm going to try to move this. Oh, there it is. Okay, you see that right there on the bottom, on the bottom other side. Yeah, the bottom left corner of your screen. You see those little black lines there? Those little black lines right there. It is not detritus. It's not dust. I mean, it may have been accumulated and it's not a worm. And I only started seeing this when I started doing glass bottom tanks. So what is it, you ask? If I let it get gnarly, it can cover up the whole bottom and it does look like there's a bunch of worms on the glass. But what it is the bacteria starts, I guess, degrading or consuming the detritus and the dust, and it kind of collects it around itself. And I guess it's like a staph bacteria. That's the only thing I could think of. They call that a staph infection. The bacteria, it looks like a staph. It looks like a little stick or a worm or something. Well, so this is some type, has to be some type of a staph bacteria, or just a bacteria. Maybe other bacteria grow this way. There's something moving in there that's white. Yes, the little detritus worms. Okay. Those come from when I take my mosses out of other tanks that have been cycled, that unless I wash the moss off for really, really good. And most of the times it's still, the detritus worms will come with it. And then I already have, that's why I say the way that I do it so that way it does. Maybe a little seed shrimp will be attached to it, Maybe there's all kinds of little stuff that I like to bring in from the other, but that is definitely a detritus worm there, especially because it's long and stringy. Every once in a while, I'll find a mosquito larva, but not very often. And when I do, I just put a baby guppy or a baby clown killifish in the tank until it's all gone. But yes, those little black worm looking things that aren't moving, that's bacteria growth. You won't see that if you have substrate on your aquarium, but I have seen it to where when I remove substrate from a tank, it'll be growing on the bottom. Yeah, they're good. I like I said, I treat my fish with my shrimp tanks. Every once in a while, they get to go on a vacation, and I put them in the tank for a little while, and they get to eat all the little critters. And I've done it several different ways. Most of the times, I just put the fish in there because the baby fish, guppies, and the clown killifish, I can catch them real easy back. They're not gonna, swim into the corner of the tank and muck it all up. But sometimes I'll just attach a filter box and let them, take whatever comes in through the filter box. Sometimes I'll use those internal breeding baskets and put fish in there so that way they can have a snack or two. But yeah, my fish love that. And sometimes when I empty out the tanks, I might empty out the tank into from a shrimp tank into a fish tank. So that way the fish can have little snackies off of whatever's floating around. Because the water's usually pretty clean. I'm just cleaning it out. Because I like to refresh. But yeah, so that's what I've noticed. Okay, now the last time I did a setup, the other tank, when I did a video probably a few months back, maybe 6 months ago or so, where I said, does this really work? And it was the first time that I was just going all in as far as making the claim that this works for me. For me, asterisk. But I did a video on it, and then like a week after I set it up, I started noticing these little black lines in the bottom of the tank. But what was interesting is they were also all over the cholla wood too. So I saw all of this growth everywhere, and it kind of concerned me a little bit because it was everywhere. And I knew from taking apart old tanks that there would be that's bacterial growth. Because like I said, when I take off substrate that's been in an aquarium for a year or 2 years or 3 years, you see that on the bottom of the tank. So at least now I know my tank has life in it. It is not null of life. There, you saw the detritus worms floating around. There are a couple of little critters, whatever you call them, isopods or the little bitty critters. So that's good. There is a couple of snails that came over from this moss when I put it in the tank. So yeah, I'm pretty confident. For me and the way that I do it, a 2-week cycle, if I set it up this way, is good. Now, if I start completely from scratch, like a brand new filter with brand new sponges or whatever the case may be, and I'm starting from square one and starting a new tank, I will most likely at least go 30 days before I start adding shrimp. Yeah, those things too. But he said, what he typed down there, look, this stuff. It's horrible of me. I know. I used to be very specific and very, detail oriented. I'm a machinist. I'm a computer programmer. It's just one of those things. You kind of inherit those qualities, but after my heart attack, after COVID, after my open heart surgery from my other heart attacks, I kind of had to let all of that go. So don't mistake it as I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to memorize it. Those are the things that I don't have time to memorize. The little critters in your tank. For me, that's all I need to know. And they're there. They're always in your tank. They're very prevalent in your shrimp tank. If it's a shrimp only tank, you will start to see critters that you never saw before when you had fish in your aquarium. They're really cool to look at under a scope. Yeah. You had to look it up. Good job. Thanks for looking it up for me. Yeah, ostracods, ostropods, isopods. There's all kinds of different names for all the different varieties of microfauna that live in our aquarium. But I had to learn the hard way too, because when I had fish in most of my aquariums, I never saw stuff like that. And if I did, the fish would eat it. It didn't matter what it was, if it was a detritus worm or whatever. But then you go shrimp only and you start to see all these things that there's no alpha predator in the tank. So all these other critters start to grow and they get bigger. And yeah, I was like, is that a baby shrimp? When I first got them and I first started keeping shrimp, I was like, oh, I think that's a baby shrimp. It wasn't. But that was my ignorance to it. So now I've learned, because I've had tanks go crazy to where, man, I don't know. It's like you look in there and it's like a snow globe full of seed shrimp and little critters floating around. And even the shrimp are trying to munch on their foods, and there's all kinds of little seed shrimp all over them. And yeah, I've had that before, and it freaks me out. And there's no good way to get rid of them. I mean, it's good for your tank. It's to show that you have good water quality and these little critters can survive. But I think sometimes they outcompete triplets for food. They may contribute to ammonia spikes because they're eating and doing their thing so much in the tank. So yeah, I've come up with ways to take care of that or keep it in balance, keep it in check. And fish is usually the easiest one. And I know everybody freaks out. Oh no, shrimp and fish can't go together. The fish are going to eat your shrimp. Yes, they could. But that's why I use the little fry guppies and I use the little clown killifish. I mean, that's why I started keeping clown killifish in the first place, was because I thought they'd be an awesome tank mate for shrimps and also help keep balance on the critters. And since clown killifish are basically nano predators, you know, they like live foods. They like little tiny live foods. So I don't know. I still keep my clown killifish mostly separate. I don't breed them in the same tank as my shrimp, although I do have a project tank that I have shrimp and a ton of clown killifish in it. So I'm just trying to see. So far, though, I will say that I have not seen a bunch of baby shrimplets in the tank with all of the clown killifish. I don't know if they're getting picked off, and I don't know if the clown killifish are picking off any fry clowns that may appear. It's the first time I've just let the tank populate itself. Well, not populate itself. My other tank was doing that, and it was continually breeding. This one, when I moved them from the smaller tank to this one, the 20 long, they stopped breeding. So I got to figure that one out. But yeah, what do you think? Isn't that interesting there? Look, I'll show you. I got to change that out. February 2024. Actually, I just got to get rid of the 2024. To me, I think the tank's ready. It's pretty. It's nice to look at. But again, I haven't gone and checked, what's my nitrates and nitrites and what's the hardness. I know there's no chlorine in it. So I really just keeping my TDS running at about 130. I'll probably do a little bit of a water change. And what I mean by that is I will use my little bitty tiny tool. Where is it? I believe it's right here. Oh, it's over there. Well, here's part of it. But I use a rigid tubing with just an airline hose. And I know I got it here somewhere because I just used it. It's usually hanging right here. This is where I hang my stuff, right here. But it's a rigid hose that I use, and what I'll do is I'll go along the bottom of the front of the glass right here. I'll get rid of that bacterial growth. I'll get rid of the little bit of the dust that's on the glass, clean it up so that way there's no dust particles on it. I will use my little bitty tiny tool. You say that 10 times fast. Oh, I wish I could show you my little bitty tiny tool, but I have seemed to have misplaced it. And I know it's hit me right in the face. I know it's right here. I know it's right here somewhere. But anyways, yeah, that's probably what I'll do. Is I'll probably get rid of the little dust particles and debris that you see on the bottom. Kind of clean it up and get rid of that bacterial growth, or not, because when I put shrimp in it, they will eat that. So that's a food source already for them. And I wish I could say, if you don't believe me, watch, but I didn't record it that first time that I saw that happen and that I paid attention to what I was watching. I'd seen it before, like I said, many times. I never really paid attention to what it could be. Not sure a little bitty tiny tool could hit you in the face. Yeah. Don't use my words against me. Oh, look, my camera's all crooked. There we go. I put a single CPD in every shrimp tank to keep those pods down. But now I haven't seen any baby shrimp since then. I wonder if I should remove them now that the critters are gone. Yeah, I would. Because that's kind of what I've noticed too, is that once the critters are gone, they have nothing else to go after. And they're so hungry because they just had like a buffet. Uh, they've had a buffet of, you know, live snacks that they're looking for their next live snack. And, you know, the shrimplets, when they're first born, I think are, you know, it doesn't matter what fish it is, they might get eaten. Yeah. Every fish loves shrimplets. It's I have noticed it too, though, that shrimp are smart. When I do put a fish in the tank, they will hide. They will disappear because I did that in my green Neo's tank, and it was just full of seed shrimp. So I put some baby guppies in there. I put about 5 of them in there, and then it seemed like I was like, oh no, I think they ate all my shrimp too because I had a bunch of shrimplets. Couldn't find them. Well, I took the fish out, and then the next day they were like everywhere on the walls, on the mosses, on the filter. So yeah, shrimp are smart that way. It's amazing. And I don't know if anybody has ever noticed that shrimp do have memory. Like for people that have feeding dishes for their shrimp, you know, the shrimp know once they smell food where to go. It's funny to see them. And that's why it's crazy. But you'll see the shrimp, they'll be like, oh, there's food. And they all just come like little ants. And then they pile up. So I don't know how much of that is memory because I've seen it where I drop the food on the other side of the aquarium where they're not used to it, but they're looking over here where I always drop it instead of over here where I did drop it. Hey Debs, how you doing? Binoski, how you doing? Bino. Daniel Velez, hello, hello. Wow. So it's 11:30 is the better time for everybody, huh? That's when you start brunching and lunching. I would probably remove them. You know, I've tried all kinds of different small fish. Um, so far, the ones that I'm feel the safest with are the clown killifish. But even those guys, I mean, I sometimes wonder. But like I said, I haven't seen any shrimp in this 20 long down here. Any shrimplets. I see them buried all the time. But there's a couple of things going on in my brain, okay? That tank has had the same substrate in it now for 3 years. It has an under gravel filter that I have not been running for the past few months. So all of that mold has accumulated in that 3/4 of an inch gap between the bottom of the glass and the substrate. So I'm kind of at a point to where once I start messing with it, it could be bad news. Same thing with my other 20-gallon long up here on top. Okay, I have to clean that thing and reset it, but it has all of my PRLs, my main colony of PRLs. So problem number one is that I put a little tiny, well, not tiny, but a small bulbous bush in there when I first set it up. That thing grew from being a little bush about this big to a bush about this big. but now it's starting to die off. And I think it's because the roots are starting to choke off. So it's, instead of it being lush and green with curly leaves, it's starting to look gangly and turning dark green. So I got to get it out. I got to clean it up and let it revive itself. It's an awesome plant. You can take a rhizome that looks like it's dead and cut off all of everything and throw it in your aquarium, and a couple of months later it's going to start sprouting. Ostracods, thanks, Geek. I always wondered what they are. I was thinking they were Daphne at one point. Yeah, I mean, like if you ask Grant and Shelby, they'll tell you that are all the different, probably the scientific subgenres and everything, but they know all the different ones. There's the ones that look like they look like tiny, little bitty, tiny brine shrimp, kind of like if they have two big old eyes and a little bitty tail, but they're tiny. And they swim around, they scoot around the tank. Of course, your seed shrimp, you see them going in and out of the substrate all the time. And that's kind of why I like not having substrate as much anymore. There's no room for all of that stuff to hide. You have an old video of them under a scope. Might have been a short live stream. I've seen several different videos and stuff like that. It's crazy. But those things are all good indicators that you have healthy water. I mean, those are tiny little bitty creatures that are living in your water. And it's all part of the ecosystem. So, like I said, I live with them, but I also try to keep a good balance. I think it's just like with everything in an aquarium, anything in life too, it's all about balance. So, but yeah, that's what we're going to do with this tank. I'll probably do it after this stream and clean out the bottom right there, the bottom front of the tank. And then I'm still trying to decide. See, I started this tank because I need to make room for my PRLs, right? I have this tank over here that's really exploded as far as the population. This one as well. Population is getting too much. And I need to separate between the 3 rings. Actually, basically, I got to separate between the S, double S, and triple S patterns. And so that's what I was going to do there. But I also need to separate my red pintos. I also want to do more stuff with my black galaxies. So, and then I got to clean out that tank. So I'm trying to decide, what do I do? Do I separate everything first and then pull all of those into the separated tanks the best I can, so that way I can reset that 20 gallon? I already started getting the plant ready by pulling it out. So it's going to probably be another week or 2 before it's completely loose, maybe a week max. But what I do is, when I start doing something like this, if it has roots that go down into the substrate, I don't want to disturb the substrate and create a ammonia spike. So I reach down in there and I grab the plant and I start to pull it up a little bit and shake it off. And then I'll go back a couple of hours later, pull it up a little bit, shake it off. And I'm just pulling it maybe a 32nd of an inch. Hey, Mark, I'm pulling it up very, very little bit, okay? Because I'm trying not to disturb the substrate too much, but I need to start pulling the plant out. And eventually, as I keep on doing that every day or 2, every couple times a day, then it'll be sitting on top of the substrate. So that way, when I do pull the plant out and try to make sure there's no shrimp, there's probably 300 shrimp around that plant right now. So I'm going to have to be real careful and try not to lose any. But I'll also have a bucket with water ready So that way I can let the plant sit in there and any remaining stragglers can work their way off, which is another thing I want to talk about here before we go today on this moss tank that I set up. So, yeah, you got rooted plants. Why shrimpers don't use rooted plants, because it makes it a pain in the butt when it comes time to reset. Did you sell about during the Xmas sale? No, I didn't sell any. I don't think I did a good enough job of getting it out there and trying to let everybody know. But yeah, if you're interested, let me know. I'll hook you up, man. I'll hook you up with the deal. Like, I don't know, because that's the other thing that I started thinking about. The sale that I did was 25 for 125. Okay, I did that for many reasons. Christmas 2025 coming up. So as I wanted to celebrate all of that stuff. But I started thinking about it. I was like, most people probably don't want 25 shrimp. Maybe 5 or 10, but 25, that's a little bit much for most people. So yeah, I got to redo that. And I didn't really focus on it. After I thought about it, I was like, if somebody wants shrimp, they'll hit me up. So yeah, just hit me up. Send me an email. I'll hook you up. Same thing, Daniel. Daniel asked me that question too. So let me know if you want some red pintos or PRLs. I know you said you were looking for red shrimp and you had some tank cyclids. So that's why I make sure for now, anyways. Yeah, I'm sticking with just the email version. I'd like to get set up with a site and all that fun stuff, but this is just as easy, And I don't think I have a whole lot. I don't think I have enough to do a website yet. But we'll see. We'll see how the expo goes. Thank you, Mark. We'll see how that goes. But so check this out, right? We're talking about setups. We're talking about cycling tanks. We're talking about, how sensitive shrimps are and stuff, right? So I'm going to move this around so I can do this the right way, I hope, without knocking everything over, creating a mess. So let's grab this. Let's put this over here. And let's look at something. So I'm trying to get this set up so you can see this tank, which this is the one, like I told you, I cleaned it out, emptied out all of the water, pulled out the Sawasser tank from my Neo tank, and pulled out the anchor moss from my red steel tank. So check it out. When I took out this anchor moss, and I did this for the expo, Mark. I like to kind of clean my moss out. So this is one of the ways I do it. I put it in an aquarium, and hopefully most of the critters, whatever, maybe snails, whatever, they'll find their way off. I change the water, clean it out. I give them a bath, basically. But I have them sitting in this tank. This is the anchor moss that came out from the red steel tank. But I did absolutely nothing to this water. There is no filtration. There is no air. There is no anything. And I didn't put any minerals. There's nothing in the water right now. It is basically probably 4 TDS water. So why do I think it's strange? Well, look down here. One of the red steels decided it wanted to go on a vacation. So he's down in here. It's not going to focus very well because of the glare. But that red steel is there. Now, normally, I would not do anything to my I would not allow my shrimp to be living in these conditions. But here's the thing. It may look like it's going, this water sucks. There's nothing in it. There's no biofilm, whatever it may be thinking. Right? Maybe there is biofilm there probably is biofilm on the Sawasra and the moss. But he's just hanging out. He didn't die. And there's also a Neo in here somewhere too. A blue Neo that came out from the Sawasra tank. And look, I still have plenty more to wash off before the expo. Look at all of that stuff, man. Yes. And yes, I have a little separator. This is the way I repurpose the stuff from my breeder boxes. I put them in the tank, and I use this little watering spike to hold them up and kind of just keep the moss separate. I like for my mosses to be clean when I sell them. So that's why I go through this process. It may be silly, it may be overkill, I don't know. It's just something that I do. So I'm going to leave it here like this for now. That looks good. There, that looks good. Hello, Lori. One of the cool things too about anchor moss, I don't know how many of you have used anchor moss. I like it because it looks like Taiwan moss, kind of. It kind of almost looks like Java moss too, a little bit thicker than Java moss. Java moss is real fine. But what I like about anchor moss is that it's the only one that I've found to be moldable. And what I mean is that it is a very coarse, thick, but they're not called fronds. There's another word for the vine, whatever it grows on. But this stuff is very moldable. So you could take a little bitty, this right here, I had to squish it down in the tank, right? I could take this, and it came from a 10-gallon tank. And it filled up the 10-gallon tank. So basically, that's the tank it came from right there. And that little bitty, that's about a handful of moss. But because it is so coarse, you can kind of mold it and bushy it out however you want to, or compact it nice and tight into a corner or under a piece of driftwood or whatever. I have another tank over here, the one in the middle there. That's all anchor moss also. It came from the tank to the right of it. I emptied that one out because that's where my green Neos are, and I couldn't find my green Neos or see how many I really had with a tank full of green anchor moss. So, yeah. The anchor moss, it seems to me that it does like the medium to highlight. When you have it in low light conditions, it seems to get more stringy and starts to turn brownish. Of course, Sawasra, it'll grow in anything pretty much. But I have noticed it grows differently depending on your light. This Sawasra here has been grown in medium to highlight, so it's a little bit more stringy, thin and stringy. The subwasser tang that I have in this tank is low light subwasser tang, and it grows more compact and rounded. So, and then I have subwasser tang everywhere. It does depend on the light. Sorry, I'm making noise. There's subwasser tang in there. This is pretty highlight, probably a little much for the subwasser tang. Why do I say that? Because I look at this one and this one's struggling a little bit because I think it's too much light. So yeah. But here, that other moss that I'm working on propagating, that's this moss here. This stuff is pretty. And it grows differently depending on the light. I also have it up here in my PRL tank. And it looks different up here than it does down there in those tanks. But none of these mosses that I have really grab onto substrate much. Your hooker moss will. I love this hooker moss in here. Look at how that stuff's grown. There we go. Focused up real good. I like that. That's some good stuff there. And these are my PBLs that I'm working on. I've had these for a long time. Lost quite a few. Separated them. Went down to about 4 or 5. Now I've gotten it back up. So eventually I will start working with these like I am with my PBLs, but I have this tank of these, of the PBLs, like I am with my PRLs, and then I have this tank of the ones that are more snow white. They have a little bit of black. Some of them have a little bit of black on them, but most of them are all white. And yes, I have substrate in this tank. I didn't want to get rid of it. I didn't want to. The setup for the bookshelf tanks is different than it is for the 10 gallons. So I didn't want to mess with it. And this rack right here, this whole rack is about to be condemned. Because all I have is 2 bookshelf racks on it right now, 2 bookshelf tanks. I have that one, and I have that one's the 11 gallon. This is the 6 gallon. And then I have some utility tanks down here, and then junk. So I'm going to take this rack and I'm going to remove it and replace it with a new rack that I'm going to build to hold 6 10-gallon aquariums. So in those, I will probably do my setup a little bit differently, but not. As far as I'll probably use some of the dirty filters from the other tanks, put them in there, let them seed it with bacteria as fast as I can. And I'm probably going to go with, most likely I think I'm going to stick with the 2-box method instead of sponge filter and box. I don't know. I just feel more comfortable with 2 boxes in there than just 1. But that's, again, that is I am very dependent on my substrate to buffer my water. How much of that is me psychologically doing it to myself, because that's always the way they've always done it, is to do it deep substrate, you know, buffering substrate, active soil, and you got to pay attention and blah, 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 blah. I mean, who knows? You know me, keep it simple, keep it shrimple. But yeah, that's some of my wash tank I'm going to have at this expo. March 8th here in DFW. Anybody, if you're local, you got to get out there. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. Mark and his killifish will be out there for sure. But I'm going to have a bunch of Sawasser tang, a bunch of anchor moss. I'll have some hooker moss, a bunch of hooker moss. I'll have a bunch of giant willow moss. Probably have some Val, but everybody's going to have Val. Everybody's trying to get rid of their Vallisneria. I mean, once you plant a couple of plants, I mean, that's it. It's going to take over. It's going to grow everywhere. And yeah, but of course, I'm going to have a lot of plants and a bunch of shrimp, PRLs mainly. I'll probably have a few of my PBLs out there. A few of the Black Galaxies, not many, because I don't think people are going to want to pay for those. And I'm not going to want to sell them for cheap. I might sell some of them. I might do a couple, I'll probably do that with my red pintos too. The culls or assorted, I'll just call them assorted shrimp. I'll probably do a bunch of those. Carradina Skittles packs or whatever. But yeah, it's going to be an awesome expo. What up, Joe? Cuppy Joe. Yeah, I saw you on a Flip Aquatic stream yesterday. I was on there for a little bit, checking out what they got going on. It's so weird seeing Rob now compared to 5 years ago, when I was up there in Ohio. And seeing the shop and the changes, when he's describing what he's doing as far as closing down the one building, which is where everything started, where everything's been, and he's moving over to the other building because that's where he's got the upstairs gallery that he streams from. And then downstairs has all of the 125-gallon tanks on a rack for the Neos, the Carradinas, and then when I was there, we were just building the plant rack, which it's not a plant rack anymore, but they moved a bunch of tubs over there and everything. It looks pretty cool. But I know exactly what he's doing because I've been there and I used to work there and I used to walk back and forth that parking lot all the time. Half the day I'd spend in one building, and then the other half of the day I'd spend in the other building. So. But yeah, it's cool to see him. I'm glad everything's going good. I'm still trying to find out about darn shrimp contest. Woo. Is this going to happen this year? I'm sure it will. I'm just being antsy because I would like to make sure that everything goes as smooth as possible. It's been a little difficult the past couple of years because everybody's so busy. And, I know they're young and they got all the vigor in them and they can do it all, but why? Relax a little bit, let people help. And let's start organizing it now. I guess I'm old school that way. I don't want to wait until a week to 2 weeks before. Oh yeah, Jerry, you want to help us with this and that? And well, yeah. Okay. I'd like for everything to get organized now. Just like me doing what I'm doing with this moss and separating it now 3 weeks before the expo, because I'm trying to get prepared. Because I don't want to be on the last night. Been there, done that, to pack everything up the night before. And then go, oh crap, I forgot to set this aside. Oh, I forgot to set that aside. At least this way I'll have things set aside. By the time the expo comes, I'll have my clown killifish separated in an aquarium so I could just pull from them real quick and bag them. I'll probably have my shrimp in a tank that this is the tank of shrimp that I'm going to use to sell, for that day, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I like to be squared away as much as possible. What's up? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see everybody. It's about that time where people get their lunch breaks. They get to brunch, or maybe you already had them, or you're about to go, or you've been in meetings all day, or like I used to do when I was in my meetings. I'd be on my meeting on my work laptop, and then on my computer, I'd have YouTube going in the background. Usually coffee with Flip back in the day. This was back in 2019, 2018. But I'd have coffee with Flip going in the mornings while I was on my manager's call. Shh, don't tell them. Oh, wait, I don't work for them anymore. Got to keep them separated. Anybody check out my drumming video? It was kind of cool. I figured I'd post it on Papa Shrimp page so that you could go check it out. But it was my best friend and guitar player singer's 61st birthday. Yeah, 61st birthday. 61 years old. But he wanted to jam for his birthday, so of course, took my drums out there. We set up in the living room, and our bass player came out, and we jammed. And I decided to go ahead and post the video because it was kind of cool. Bunch of old guys playing heavy metal like we're in our 20s. Well, no, because when we were in our 20s, we moved a lot more, banging our heads, all that stuff. It's so funny to watch my videos of me playing now compared to the videos when I was a rock star. And you see those, and I do. I look like Animal because Animal's my idol. So I was always back there. All you'd see is the top of my head. And you wouldn't see my face because I make drummer faces. And so crazy. But I also know that's why I have neck problems. That's why I have shoulder problems. That's why I have back problems and hip problems and all the things I didn't think about when I was in my 20s, beating the drums like Animal. But now I watch myself play, and it's I'm very old. That's the best way. I know Animal was the best Muppet, and that's why when I was 7 years old and I saw Buddy Rich and Animal do their little duet, I looked at my mom and I said, that's what I want to be when I grow up. And she looked at big eyes, big proud smile. You want to be like Buddy Rich? And I was like, no, I want to be like Animal. You should have seen the look of disappointment and disgust on her face. My poor mom. Rest in peace, Mom. I love you. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But yeah, I pretty much spent my whole career being Animal. What up, Whipster? How you doing, man? Just get tanked. Yeah, see, I couldn't come up with anything for the Thursday stream. On Tuesday, I came up with Tanko Tuesday, because it's the closest thing to Taco Tuesday. But Thursdays, what's a throwback Thursdays? But how do you relate throwback to aquariums and tanks and shrimp and fish and any of that stuff? So I don't know. That's why I was just like, brunch and lunch. I don't know. It's an excuse for me to hang out with you guys and talk aquariums or not, talk shrimp or not, talk fish, whatever you all want to talk about. I'm just glad I have a few people hanging out with me because yesterday, like I said, I wasn't feeling good. That's why I canceled the stream. But It was kind of lonely yesterday. I did want to stream. I wanted to talk to people, but I just didn't feel it was. Blech. I don't know. So, how about any of y'all got questions for me before we call it for the day? So it's been about an hour. I know people got to get back to doing work stuff. And I got to get to work on my aquariums, do some aquarium stuff. Just love that hooker moss. So pretty. Hey, Nano. Nano. Okay, here I'll ask you, Nano. Have you ever seen? Oh, wait, I have a table there already. You ever seen this stuff in an aquarium? This stuff right here. They look like worms, but they're not. The reason I'm asking is because that's the theme of this video was, is my tank cycled or not? And one of the observations I've made over the years of doing constant resets, constant teardowns and resets, blah, 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 blah. And now that I'm doing this, pretty confident that stuff down there is bacterial growth. And I believe that what a lot of the times the bacteria colony that's growing there will just kind of absorb everything around it. So it makes it look like that. Little itty bitty tiny tools. Hey, that reminds me, where is my itty bitty tiny tool? I did a video on it. I did. And it's got to be hanging here somewhere. Oh, I bet you it's in here. Yay! I disappeared. Itty bitty tiny tool. Here's my itty bitty tiny tool. I knew I'd get to show it to you guys. This one's kind of it's not so itty bitty, it's extra long. I extended it so that way I can reach down into the aquarium, and I'll show you, because like I did it on the video, this stuff right here on the bottom, right there, if I try to wipe it or just like move it away, it won't go. It's stuck to the bottom of the tank. Okay. That's what tells me, like I said, I know it's bacterial growth. I've seen it enough times now to where I know what it is. So yeah, I think my tank's ready. But that's what I'll do. I'll use this little bitty, itty bitty tiny tool. I'll siphon it out into a little catch cup. Usually when I have babies, I use a catch cup. In this instant, it'll probably just go in the bucket. And I'll clean up the glass. And then I will add shrimp. Again, once I decide which shrimp I'm going to use that tank for. Because I got to do something with these guys, man. Look at this one over here. That's bacteria trying to write in the glass. Where is the substrate? Yeah, probably. But I know it's bacteria now after seeing it many, many times. But look at all these little guys. They're everywhere. Now, Do I see that type of bacteria growth in these tanks that are established? No, I don't. Because like I said, for one, the shrimp eat it. And two, that's kind of how I know when I have a pretty good balance in my tank, is that this is how everything looks. It's just detritus that's on the glass, right? Detritus and shrimp. That's a pretty darn good balance in my tank. If not, when it gets out of balance, then that bacteria growth will get, it'll pretty much be all over the bottom of the tank. And that tells me it's a little bit out of balance. So what I've done is I just siphon it out, top off the tank a little bit, and then the shrimp, there's enough shrimp or not to keep up with the bacteria growth. The shrimp eat it. But there it is. There's the tank. This is 2 weeks now that it's been running. Those sponges were already cycled. If you were with me last week, you saw that I did have a filter in there to seed the aquarium with bacteria. This moss comes from a tank that has already been cycled, and that's why there's already some detritus worms floating around. They probably came in, and they also probably came in from the other the other filter that I used to seed this one with. Because I didn't rinse it out or anything like that. No, I just pulled it out of one tank and put it in the next one because I wanted to carry over some of that mold, some of the bacteria. But yeah, so I think it's ready. By next week when we're here, I will definitely have some shrimp in here. I'm also waiting. I am waiting for this. Let me move this over here a little bit. This is cool. I would like to do a watch video, but I don't think that would work out too well. Don't break your aquariums, Jerry. Okay, here's the other tank next door to this one. It has the same moss in it, but this one has my golden shrimp. I know they are. That's what I was saying. That's why there's a red steel over here in an aquarium with like 4 TDS. He doesn't look like he's like happy, but he's alive. Do not do what I do. There. So there's one of the golden shrimp, but the mama, she's buried. I noticed her being buried on January 14th. So she should be popping out some babies anytime now. And then I'll have my own golden shrimp. Woohoo! So yeah, that's what I got going on. And again, if any of you want to get you any of the shrimp you see, or mosses especially, because there's no issues with shipping moss. So let me know. I have plenty of it to share. Like I said, I'm propagating this moss right here as much as I can because it's beautiful moss. That's what this is over here. And when I threw the other stuff in the tank, I threw it in just like this. And eventually it settled and started filling in. It's good stuff. So let me switch this to there. Ta-da! But anyways, thanks for hanging out, everybody. This was fun. if you have any questions on anything, if you have suggestions on videos, something you want to see, let me know. Hit me up, shoot me an email, leave me a comment, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Help me grow, but y'all have done an awesome job. I appreciate it. 1,100. Woohoo! And growing. So I just got to get better and more consistent with my content so that way I keep everybody engaged. I know, kind of like this right now, but hey, I'm trying and I am getting back as far as the video side of it. I never left the hobby, never, ever. It never went away. It won't ever go away. It's a lifestyle, you know. How can I not? If I ever stop doing this, then it would just be like completely done. I'm done. I might have one aquarium, but I doubt it because then it'd lead me to 2 and then start all over. Garage noise. What up? So yeah, anyways, go check out my music stuff. I got 20 subscribers now, so woohoo! On my other channel, How I Roll, but it's spelled RRLL, like a drum roll. Get it? Yeah, let me see. Oh, Whip, you forgot Daniel. How dare you, man? It's just not right. I know. I know. I'll get there. Sorry. I'm looking around on the interweb so I can find this, and so I can do the share thing, and I can click copy, and then I can come over here, and then I can do this. Yeah, you know, that's a good idea. I should do that here. That's the channel for the link for the video. And then for the channel, that's my drum channel. I haven't updated. Like I said, I started that channel a while back just because I wanted to do something. It made me think a little bit. It made me go, but you know, I do all of this stuff with my aquarium videos. So I've been a drummer like all my life. How come I don't start doing stuff with my music and drumming and stuff? So yeah. Thank you, Lori. There you go. Eventually, I will start doing some educational series because, like I said, sometimes I have to think of what I'm going to do for the aquarium that hasn't already been done 1,020,000 times. But I want to do the drum stuff because I know there's stuff that's been done 1,020,000 times. But still, I want to do it my way, my versions. And why not? You know, I got to share, got to teach people something. I don't want to take all this knowledge away. Woohoo, 22. Man, it reminds me of 2019 when I first started my Papa Shrimp channel and my first Aquashella, sitting there with Rack and Joseph and Amber and Priscilla and Carrie and Jesse and Tiffany White and Stephen Conroe and Fishy Bivs and all of them. That was my first encounter with all the bigs. And there was one that I wasn't quite impressed with, but that's okay. Whatever. Liked on Facebook as well just now. Not sure why I hadn't done that a while ago. Yeah, why hadn't you done that? No, No worries. Like I said, I'm not good at this whole YouTube thing, because if I was, I'd be making money by now. This could be my job. But no, I'm definitely no Mr. Beast or anything. I was watching his show, the Beast Games. Kind of like it. It's kind of good. It's kind of funny. I feel like a dork because the only reason I know anything of what the heck is a Mr. Beast is because of my kids, you know. And then what was the Pootie Pie? That was the other one that I used to hear all the Pootie Pie or something like that. I think that's what it is. They're gamer streamers. Yeah, most of them are gone now. I know. Priscilla doesn't do anything. Tiffany every once in a while does anything. Joseph is gone, disappeared. Amber disappeared. I know Fishy Biz still does stuff. Stephen Conroe, not so much anymore. Oh yeah, the other guy, not Stephen, SC Aquatics and SC Fish Keeping. What's the SC Fish Keeping is blonde head dude. Me and him hung out quite a bit. Zach. Yeah. I still see him every once in a while. But yeah, a lot of those from back then, they're poof. That was a weird one. Like I said, 2019, Aquashella, Chicago, and then COVID happened after that. So we didn't see Aquashella again until 2021 in June in Orlando. And that's when me and Jason went out there, announced our business partnership, and had a great time. And then 2 weeks later, I'm getting my chest cut open. So yeah. My YouTube career has been tumultuous, to say the least. But that's okay. Persistence. Keep on keeping on. There's no reason for me to stop doing this anyway. I mean, I'm going to do all of this, whether I do this or not. So, yeah, might as well have fun. I know of Mr. Beast because of John Hudson from Case. He talks about him all the time. Well, I hadn't really paid attention at all. I just heard of it. My kids had told me, and then I started watching this show because I'm dying for shows to entertain me sometimes. And I found Beast Games, and I figured, well, what the heck? I'll give it a shot, see what it's about, And it's not bad. It's down to the last episode that I'm watching now. Right now, it's on pause right now. I'll go see the ending of it. No spoilers. But it's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm easily entertained. I used to hate, or not hate, but I used to despise any of those reality shows, Survivor, Big Brother, all of those competitions, nothing. But now, especially, like, that's what happened when I had my surgery and I'm sitting there with nothing to do. I started binge watching shows, and it got me into everything. And yeah, I've watched Survivor all seasons, all 47 seasons, twice, if not 3 times already. The Challenge, I watched the Challenge over and over, seen all of them. So I like watching the reality shows because it's great to see how much we've changed over the past 25 years. And it's crazy. Yeah, Reverb Nation's still a thing. If you have it out there, it's out there. I mean, I don't know how to log into one of my other bands' Reverb site, but we have 2 songs on there, and they've been on there ever since, and I still refer back to them, and I download the songs. When I forget where I put them, I re-download them again. That's my other band, Sincero. Those are really good recordings. That's probably the best my drums have ever sounded in a studio recording, is in those for Sincero. But I play on my How I Roll channel. I have videos of Sincero. Yeah, band stuff. When I think back, I have an article I was looking the other day because everybody knows, well, metal people know Pantera, Dimebag Darrell, Vinnie Paul were from here. So, well, from Dallas Fort Worth area. We shared the same space with them many times in various scenarios. But when Dime got shot, the co-owners of his club called my wife at the time, called her because she edited a magazine that was it was kind of like the Green Sheet, but for adult entertainment. And so she did that magazine. Well, the co-owners of Dimebag's strip joint wanted a full feature article. They wanted Dime on the cover. They were going to pay for it, all the stuff, whatever we had to do. So I got the honor of writing the article, and I went around. And I went to the funeral, the viewing, ran across a bunch of my old buddies, and that's actually what spurred us into reuniting and starting to play again because we had broken up. My band X is Red. But I have those magazines, and so it's kind of cool to look back. I mean, not cool, but it's cool for me to be a part of that and to have my article written with my name in it, talking about one of the most historical passings in musical history. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Kind of sucks that it happened. Kind of cool that at least I was played my part in it. But anyways, so now it's 12:23. So what do you think? Should we call it quits or run it for another 7 minutes or so to see what's going on? Here, wait. I'll be right back. I'm going to do something. Okay. Mission fail. I was going to see if I had that magazine. I had it. I looked at it the other day. But see, that's what happens. You organize and put stuff away, and then you don't have any stuff because you don't remember where you put it. I have that problem all the time. Anyways, yeah. So music stuff, shrimp stuff, aquarium stuff, it's all good. It's Thursday. Tomorrow is, a happy day for a lot of people. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Much love. Organized, put stuff away equals gone forever. Yes. That's what happens. I like my itty bitty tiny tool. I didn't know where it was, but now I do. Everything has a home. Yes, it was such a waste. Very much so. Man, and you should have seen how hard it affected Vinny afterwards because for a long time after that, he was pretty down in the dumps before he started playing with Hell Yeah. And I remember going to a show. Again, I was writing articles for this magazine, and I had interviewed a local promoter, and so he said I got free tickets to this show, and it was a throwback show. So it had I think Rat, Cinderella, Warrant, Quiet Riot, and I forget who else, but it was a throwback to hair metal bands. So I wanted to go. I was like, free tickets? Sure. So I go there because this guy was like, I'm a big time promoter. I know all these people. I got us to hook up. We can go backstage. We get there and I find out the dude was just a regular dude. He didn't know any hookups. He didn't have any hookups. So I was like, well, I do, you know. I said, hold on a second. He was trying to convince the radio host to let him go backstage. And I was like, dude, whatever. And I took off and I went over to the backstage club. There's in this facility, we called it Starplex back in the day, but there's a facility, a concert facility. It's outdoors, amphitheater, and they have a backstage bar, private club or whatever. So I went over to the doorman and I was like, hey man, I was like, I'm going to bring some of my buddies back here. You let us in the thing? And he was like, man, I don't know. And I was like, come on, dude. I know the ice house is right there. And a buddy of mine came out of the door and he was like, X is red. What's going on? And he was like, yeah, man, you can get in. I was like, okay, cool. So I went and grabbed everybody else and we went back there. And my buddy, he's a big old dude named Mongo, gave me a big old hug. And then he was like, yeah, I'm just here with Vinny, trying to get him out of the house and, get him to do stuff. And Vinny was just sitting in the corner at the bar, back turned to everybody by himself. He didn't want to have nothing to do with nobody. So that was quite a while afterwards. And then soon after that, he started the Hell Yeah Project, and he got much better. And one of my good friends from high school ended up being his drum tech. So I used to always tell him when they were on tour, he'd send me pictures of him setting up Vinny's drum set. And I'd be like, dude, I'm shooting in the finger. I was like, that's so badass. Because he'd be sitting on Vinny's drum set. He was like, yeah, I just did a sound check. Check it out. And he'd have a picture of the setup for the arena or wherever they were playing. So badass. Pretty cool stuff. It's just funny how things work out because he was the younger brother of another drummer in my high school band. And he got with one of the drummers and started his band. And then my band went and played at their birthday party. I stole their guitar player. Me and that guitar player ended up starting our own band, and we joined the Army together. And then when I get out of the Army and everything, there's my buddy Pat, who's like, yeah, I'm a roadie for Pantera. And then, yeah, I'm a roadie for Damage Plan. And yeah, I'm the drum tech for Vinny. It's like, wow, you just kept on more and more. But it's weird how all that stuff. Yeah, grief's tough. It is. I'm dealing with that a little bit in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. It will be 5 years. 5 years from the day that changed my life forever. And I'm still trying to fix, repair, remodel, rebuild. We have the technology. We have the money. See, that's how I learned how to do that. When I was a kid, I was such a big fan of the $6 Million Man that I used to run down the street, in a rock street, because we didn't have paving back then. It was just rocks, gravel roads. But I learned how to do my eyebrow because of $6 Million Man. Yeah, it is a small world. I mean, I try to tell people the stories about how even X is red. Me and my guitar player talk about it all the time. I mean, we're like brothers, okay? We've been friends forever since we started playing in the band together. But we go back further than from when we met each other officially. And we didn't know it because it's such a small... I lived in Laredo Laredo, Texas. Very small back then. It was very small on the border, Texas town. Yeah. Half the roads were paved. Not even half. The main highway, the main streets, but all the in between neighborhood streets were gravel. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But so, like, my buddy will always say that, yeah, I was at so and so's wedding, Brett, he'll say. And I was like, yeah, but I was at so and so's wedding, the wife. And he was like, that's so strange. And I'm like, I know, we didn't even know each other, but we were at the same wedding, except I was at her wedding and he was at his wedding. He was the best man. So when we ended up years later, we're in a band. That's so weird how all of that happened. Now we think about it. Well, the bass player for our band, one of the times, was my youth group counselor, which was where I had met this female. She was my best friend at the time when we were kids. So it's weird how all of that 6 degrees of separation. The guy at the wedding that I was drinking champagne with, we were sitting there drinking champagne. And when I was looking for another band to play in between X's Red after we were thinking about getting back together and doing a reunion show, I ran into the band Sincerum. The guitar player was the guy that was at the champagne table at the wedding drinking champagne with me. So it's like, wow. It is a small, small world, the way things. If I tried to do a diagram of how everything connected, it looked like spaghetti because it's so weird how everything, I came home from the army to go see my friend who eventually is the wife of the previous drummer of X's Red. But anyways, I had a party. I was on leave. I invited her over. She brought a friend of hers over. And I look at her friend and I was like, ooh, she's cute. Hey, you want to get drunk with us? And she was like, no, I can't. I'm pregnant. And I was like, oh, okay. Didn't think two things about it. Later on, I found out that's my buddy Johnny's wife. And she was pregnant with my nephew, Titan. I call him my nephew. So we talked about that the other day because it was just topic of conversation. We were talking about, yeah, because the grandkids started asking. And I was like, yeah, I've known Titan, your dad, since he was in your nana's stomach. So just weird how all that stuff, 6 degrees of separation, man. It is so very true. But anyways, it's about that time. I'm going to let y'all eat, let y'all do your work. Geek boy takes advantage of me. Yeah, I don't drink any. I still occasionally will have an adult beverage, but no, I can't handle the hangovers, and I'm a lightweight. Anyway, so we got to go. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Like I said, hit me up if y'all interested in any mosses. I should do something like pictures and fun stuff. I don't know. I'd rather just show it to you, talk about it, and then let you decide what you want to do from there. That's the best way for me right now. But y'all have a good one. Enjoy your Thursday. Happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. Happy Valentine's Day weekend. Whatever the case may be. Much love, much respect. I love shrimp. Let me do that real quick. Let me do it.
I love shrimp. Who else loves shrimp? I love shrimp. Who else loves shrimp?
Cool deal, man. So I'm going to do this right here. I'm going to go ahead and end it like I started it like last time. Hey, it's not letting me choose. Okay, fine. So end stream.